Hi everyone, and welcome to TradKidsTV. Today, we are going to do a very special animation for you. So let's get into it. We are going to be talking about beeswax and Candlemas,
a rich tradition of the church.
Okay. So, first, we're going to be talking about Candlemas. So let's get right into that. So, Candlemas starts on February 2nd. Now, you're probably thinking, why February 2nd? Well, February 2nd marks the feast of the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, also known as Candlemas, a feast which dates back to the early church fathers. To celebrate Candlemas, all the candles in the house should be lit.
Mom, do you think we have too many candles? Well, on Candlemas, we have to light all of our candles.
Tradition also says manger scenes should not be put away until Candlemas.
Oh, the manger's been up for a while. Let me take it down. Not coming out. Oh, why did you do that? You can't take it down until Candlemas.
Which is the last feast of the Christmas cycle.
So, Candlemas is the 40th day after Christmas, and is the day when the church celebrates the events of the fourth joyful mystery of the Rosary, the presentation in the temple. When the Blessed Virgin Mary presents Jesus in the temple and submitted herself for the ritual purification according to the law of Moses, aka Mosaic law. Also, a mother such as Mary, who had given birth to a male child, was considered unclean for 7 days, and additionally was to remain outside of the temple for 33 more days. If a woman gave birth to a daughter, that time would be doubled.
When that time had passed, the mother or father were to bring to the temple a lamb for a burnt offering and a young pigeon or turtle dove for a sin offering. For a poor couple who could not afford the lamb, 2 pigeons or turtle doves were to be brought instead. The priest then prayed for her and she was cleansed. Joseph and Mary made the offering of the poor, the 2 pigeons or 2 turtle doves. Sound familiar?
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves.
Of course, our Blessed Mother didn't need this purification, as she was already free from sin, just as Jesus didn't need to be baptized. They were being obedient to Mosaic law and setting a pattern for us to follow. And the church honors this humility and obedience of Mary on this feast day.
During the presentation in the temple,
Simeon declared
that Jesus would be a light, and the church developed a custom of lighting and blessing candles on this day. On this feast day, Catholics customarily would bring all the candles they would use in their home throughout the coming year to the church to be blessed. The priest would also lead in a solemn procession to symbolize the light of Christ entering the temple. The flame of the candle is a symbol of Jesus who came to enlighten our darkness. Long before the invention of the light bulb, it has not been permitted for a priest to offer Mass in the dark,
Good, because I can't even see in the dark.
or to begin Mass before the altar candles are lit, nor are they to be extinguished until the end of Mass. If the candles burn out before the consecration of the Eucharist and cannot be relit, the Mass should be discontinued. Going further, the Church says that the candles used at Mass must be made of majority part beeswax.
Huh? Why beeswax? And where does beeswax come from exactly? Besides, obviously, from bees. Like, how is it made? Is it like the leftover stuff after the honey is made? So many questions!
Yeah, I know. So many questions. But we'll get right into that in just a second. So, we did some digging and came across a few saints who spoke on the topic. And here's what we found. Well, the bees and their wax are actually very symbolic. St. John Chrysostom wrote, "The bee is more honored than other animals. not because it labors, but because it labors for others. So the bees are like the clergy and religious men and women in the church. They work super hard for the common good of the hive and obey without question their superiors and, above all, their queen. The wax is formed by worker bees and is used to build the honeycomb cells for storing the honey the bees make. Beeswax candles are purported to be superior to other wax candles because they burn brighter and longer, do not bend, and burn cleaner. So the reason altar candles should be made of majority part, or at least 51%, beeswax is due to the added sacrifice. Both the sacrifice from the added financial cost to humans, because beeswax is pretty pricey compared to other waxes used for candle making, as well as the sacrificial labor of bees who literally work themselves to death for the creation of this purest form of wax. St. Anselm tells us to consider 3 things in the blessed candle: the wax, the wick, and the flame. The wax is the production of the virginal pure bee and symbolizes the flesh of our Lord. The wick, which is within, is his soul. The flame, which burns on top, is his divinity. Pretty neat, huh? The symbolic connection of the bees as emblems of virginity and purity, and the wax symbolizing the flesh of our Lord. As the Church gives us grace through the purity of her divine sacraments, so the bees give us honey and wax by the labor of their pure bodies. This is why their wax is considered worthy to burn in the candles on the altar at the offering of the holy sacrifice of the Mass. You may even come across some bees in religious masterpieces like this one. The 4 columns are covered with leafy branches and little sculpted bees laboring about. I never knew the rich historical symbolism that the Church holds for bees. Pretty cool, huh? I don't think I'll look at another church candle, or bee for that matter, the same ever again. Bye for now, and Deo Gratias.